Welcome to this video for the 5 liquids CER, and it's on claim evidence and reasoning, and this one is the third one on reasoning. And reasoning sometimes can be the hardest part to write, but hopefully this tutorial will help you become a better writer as far as reasoning is concerned. This poster right here, this poster is something that I've gotten from the company that creates our book. And they gave it to us as a poster. It was kind of a wimpy poster. It was just a little PDF file. And I suppose I could take that somewhere and get it blown up into a giant poster. But right now I don't. But I'm showing you this because it's a little bit different than the one I have on my wall. So it's reasoning ties together the claim and the evidence. Shows how or why the data counts as evidence to support the claim. I think that's pretty neat the way they talk about that or state that. Shows how or why the data counts as evidence. And that's important to be able to do. Provides the justification for why this evidence is important to this claim and includes one or more scientific principles. Now, there's really no set number for the number of scientific principles. You have to go through and you have to figure out which ones match up. And this is important because if you don't get the right scientific principles, you might not even get the right claim correct. And for the 5 liquids, there's actually 3 scientific principles that matter. So the first thing, just like with the claim and the evidence video, I want to take a look at the rubric. Now, if you're looking at these rubrics and say, why don't I have this rubric? Why have I never not seen this rubric? You actually have this rubric. The only things you don't have are the ones that are specific for this. So for example, it says liquids 2 and 4 have the same amount of properties. The generic rubric doesn't have that in it because that changes for every one of these that you do. So the next time we practice one of these in classes, this will change depending on which one you have. You know, is it liquids? Is it solids? Is it 2 and 4? Is it 1 and 4? Is it none? Because we actually have some where nothing matches up. And maybe you'll get that one the next time. But you do have this rubric. You got a paper copy of it. And if you look online, there should be, on my website, there should be a PDF of the generic version. So you can use that to help you figure out what to write and how to write a better CER, specifically in this example, reasoning. So first of all, let's look at 1. Provides no reasoning or unrelated reasoning, does not state proper scientific principles. If you do not have any scientific principles, you are automatically a 1. You have to use scientific principles. Now, the good thing is most of you have gotten to the point where you use them, but I still had several people that have no scientific principles. And so you just need to use those posters in the back that tell you to use scientific principles. Number 2 says includes a generalization that liquids 2 and 4 have some of the same properties, but they are not the same, but they are the same substance, and or you need to have scientific principles. You need to have at least one. So 1, 5, and 6 were the ones you needed. You need to have at least one scientific principle to get a 2. Now, the big difference between a 2 and a 3 is you have to have all 3 of the scientific principles. And you have to link the claim, evidence, and scientific principles. Now, the difference between a 3 and a 4 is you include why mass and volume are not important in this case. So let's go ahead and look at an example. So this should be your most lengthy part. Some of you have your evidence is longer than your reasoning, and that can't happen, or at least it shouldn't happen. The reasoning is really the backbone of the entire CER. So let's read through this. Liquids 2 and 4 are the same substance because they have the same density, color, and melting point. Does that look familiar? That was actually our claim. So you should always start out, or at least restate your claim within your reasoning. Now here's where I start using the scientific principles. And you can see what scientific principles I use. Notice it just says SP1 right here. That is awesome to do. I can look at this and say, oh, here's 5. Oh, here's 6. So by having SP1, or you can put SP number 1, it draws my attention to it right away. And that's actually one of the things we would like you to include in your information. So when I look at this, it says states proper scientific evidence or scientific principles and numbers. That way it draws my attention to it right away. Some of you didn't have this, and you don't say, well, according to scientific principle, and you didn't write it out. You just state some words. Now you're left with me, the teacher. I'm in a tough spot. Are you stating the scientific principle? Are you just stating some mumbo jumbo that you're just trying to get it correct by stating some words, but do you really know that it's a scientific principle? By saying SP1, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're thinking. So here it is. SP1 states that properties such as color and density, okay, so color and density are unique characteristics that help identify a substance and distinguish one substance from another. Some of you that's all you did. You just restated it. You just copied and pasted. But that's not enough. You have to tell me and explain why this scientific principle can be used to take your evidence, which is red in color, and have a density of 0.93 grams per cubic centimeter. Why does that? How does that link back to your claim? Oh, liquids 2 and 4 are both, and that's why they're the same substance. So just by simply stating a scientific principle, it's not enough. What you didn't do is you didn't link your claim evidence and scientific principle. You have to be able to do that, link evidence, claim, and scientific principle. Simply restating the scientific principle without giving me the second sentence right here is not enough. Could it be a 3? It might be a 3 if you have all 3 of them. However, it might be the difference between a 3 or 2, or it might sink you to a 2 depending on how well you state these. Scientific principle 5 states that the melting point, so again, I'm talking about melting point, is a property of a substance. Melting point is a unique characteristic that can be used to identify a substance. Now look at this. Liquids 2 and 4 are the same substance because they have the same melting point. Again, I'm tying together up here. What I have right here is my claim, and I'm linking my claim. Liquids 2 and 4 are the same substance. That's my claim because they have the same melting point. Here's my evidence. So this scientific principle linked this evidence to this claim. Same thing for scientific principle number 6. Properties of a given substance are the same regardless of the amount. So if you look at your data table, even though they don't have the same masses and volumes, it doesn't matter. Scientific principle says it does not matter. Again, look at this. I have this right here. Now, for your evidence, some of you didn't get a 3 or a 4 for your evidence because you didn't state these at all. You just says, oh, liquids 2 and 4 don't have the same masses, but this doesn't matter. It doesn't have the same volume, but it doesn't matter. But because you didn't state these numbers, you might have only gotten a 3 for your evidence. But here again, I'm restating it. Now, in the reasoning, if you didn't restate all these numbers, you probably could still get a 4 because you have it in your evidence. As long as you say that they have liquids 2 and 4 both are red, have the same color, and they have the same density, I'm okay with that. It's even better if you do include this information. Now, do you notice where this information comes from? All I did was copy and paste it out of my evidence. And once you do your evidence, again, don't work harder, work smarter. Copy and paste things. So here I am. Scientific principle number 6, it says 2 and 4 do not have the same masses or volumes, but that does not matter in this instance. So that's all I put in the evidence because I needed to have that in the evidence. But here in the reasoning is where I go into more detail. Different masses and volumes just show there are differing amounts of liquids. For example, now this blue part you don't necessarily have to have for a 4, but it definitely makes it a solid 4, and I know exactly what you're talking about. But you don't have to have it because it says, according to scientific principle number 6, properties of a given substance are the same regardless of the amount. So as long as you have this, and then you tell me that 2 and 4 do not have the same ones, and it doesn't matter, you could get your 4. This part down here just helps cement it in and verify that you truly are a 4. And here it says, for example, a mass of 38 grams of water and a mass of 17 grams of water indicate that you have different masses, but they're both water. Or a volume of 40.9 cubic centimeters of milk and a volume of 18.3 cubic centimeters of milk indicate that you have a small glass of milk and a very small glass of milk. But they're still both milk. So again, this helps justify and links this together and helps explain it. Now here's a key part that a lot of people don't have. So if I go back down here, this is what a lot of people don't have. A concluding statement. Therefore, liquids 2 and 4 are the same substance. Liquids 2 and 4 are the same substance because they have the same density, color, and melting point. So it ties everything you see up here together at the very end. So this is how you write a good reasoning. your reasoning should by far be the largest part of your CER. Some of you are coming in writing one sentence, two sentences. It's just not enough. You do have to have all the scientific principles. So if you have to have all the scientific principles, you have to state the scientific principles along with the numbers. You included why mass and volume are not, in this case, why it doesn't matter. And it links claim, evidence, and reasoning. So again, as always, make sure you ask questions if you have them, especially on the reasoning part.